The barrier died at exactly 0400 hours Galactic Standard Time. Captain Jiho Kang felt it through the ship's sensors before anyone else noticed. The UES Prometheus shuddered as 3,000 years of imprisonment ended in a moment. Outside the viewport, the stars appeared for the first time in human memory. Real stars, not the false sky Earth scientists had projected inside the barrier. Not the simulations children learned from in school. These were actual points of light from distant suns, and they were beautiful. Jiho stood completely still on the bridge. His crew waited for orders, but he had none yet. He simply stared at the galaxy that had locked his ancestors away. Somewhere out there were answers. Somewhere out there were the beings who had decided Earth was too dangerous to exist alongside the rest of civilization. Somewhere out there was the truth about why humanity had suffered alone for so long. Captain, Dr. Una Park spoke softly from her station. The science officer had tears running down her face, though she probably did not realize it. We did it. We are actually outside. Yes, Jiho said. His voice was steady, showing none of the emotion burning in his chest. We are free. Now we find out why we were never meant to be. Far across the galaxy, alarm screamed in the Great Council chamber. Archon Velix rose from his crystalline seat as emergency lights bathed the room in red. The Kryn leader had ruled for 2 centuries, but he had never seen panic like this among the council members. Species that had not spoken to each other in generations were all shouting at once. Silence. Velix's voice cut through the chaos. The council chamber fell quiet. What has happened? A young technician, barely out of training, stepped forward. Her voice shook. The Sol barrier has failed, Archon. It just stopped working. We detected a ship passing through 17 minutes ago. The council chamber erupted again. Velix felt something he had not experienced in his long life. True fear. He had inherited the secret of Earth's sealing when he took office. The ancient files were locked in his personal vault.
He had read them once and tried to forget.
The reason Earth was sealed away was not something the modern galaxy liked to discuss. It was shame. It was guilt. It was the recognition that sometimes the greatest threats come not from evil, but from simple nature. Send Ambassador Thryn, Velix ordered. She has experience with first contact situations. Tell her to approach peacefully, and someone wake Fleet Marshal Corvin. Tell him to prepare the defense forces, but do not let him engage. Not yet. Ambassador Thryn received her orders while meditating in her quarters. The Vexori diplomat was known for her calm approach to problems, but even she felt nervous. Earth was a name from ancient history, a cautionary tale told to new council members. A reminder of what happens when you let a species grow too powerful too quickly. She had studied the old records, what few remained. Humans had nearly taken over the galaxy once, not through war, through something far more insidious. Her telepathic abilities would help with first contact, she told herself. She could sense intentions, feel emotions, understand thoughts beneath words. If humanity had changed during their isolation, she would know. If they were still dangerous, she would sense it and warn the council. She boarded her diplomatic vessel and set course for the coordinates where the human ship had been detected. On the Prometheus, Commander Do-Hyun Lee reviewed tactical data with cold efficiency. The military operations chief had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. Every human alive had been raised knowing the barrier was temporary, knowing that one day they would break free. The question was what they would find on the other side. Friends or enemies? Welcome or weapons? Captain, we have an incoming vessel, Do-Hyun reported. Single ship, small. Not a military configuration. They are broadcasting on old human communication frequencies. Jiho nodded. This was expected. The galaxy would send someone to investigate, to assess the threat, to decide what to do about Earth's unexpected freedom. He straightened his uniform and moved to the communication station. Una joined him, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her caution. Open a channel, Jiho ordered. The view screen flickered to life. Ambassador Thryn appeared, her insectoid features arranged in what her species considered a friendly expression. She spoke in flawless Standard Galactic, a language humans had only recently decoded from old archives. Greetings, travelers from Earth. I am Ambassador Thryn of the Vexori Communion. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to the greater community of civilized worlds. We have much to discuss. Jiho studied the alien carefully before responding. Every word mattered now. Every gesture would be analyzed. He had trained for diplomatic contact, but no training could fully prepare someone for this moment. The first words between humanity and the galaxy in 3,000 years. Ambassador Thrin, he began, his voice level and professional. I am Captain Jiho Kung of the United Earthship Prometheus. We accept your welcome, though we must admit to some confusion. Our people have been isolated for reasons unknown to us. We have many questions about why we were separated from the galaxy. We hope you can provide answers. Thrin felt his emotions through her telepathic sense. Anger, curiosity, determination. But beneath those surface feelings was something else, something that made her antenna twitch with unease. This human was dangerous. Not cruel or violent, but dangerous in the way a predator is dangerous. Focused, efficient, patient. She sensed the same thing from his entire crew. They were not the scattered, emotional species the old records described. 3,000 years had changed them. Captain Kang, the history between Earth and the galaxy is complex. I suggest we meet in person to discuss these matters properly. May I come aboard your vessel? Do-Yun stepped closer to Jiho and whispered urgently. Sir, this could be a trap. We should remain cautious. Jiho considered this. Do-Yun was right to be suspicious, but they would learn nothing by hiding. Ambassador Thrin, you may come aboard. We will lower our shields and transmit docking coordinates. However, I must inform you that our ship is prepared to defend itself if necessary. I hope that will not be needed. I understand completely, Captain. I come in peace and expect the same courtesy. Thrin closed the channel and prepared to board. An hour later, Ambassador Thrin stood in the Prometheus conference room. She tried not to show her shock at what she sensed. The ship was advanced, far more advanced than it should be. The crew moved with military precision. Every system was optimized for efficiency. This was not a ship of exploration. This was a warship pretending to be something else. But worse than the ship was the crew themselves. Thrin could feel their thoughts brushing against her mind. Humans thought fast, much faster than other species. Their minds jumped between scenarios, calculating possibilities, preparing responses. It was exhausting just being near them. Like standing in a storm of consciousness. Jiho entered with Yuna and Do-Yun. The three humans sat across from Thrin. The ambassador forced herself to smile. Shall we begin? Thrin asked. Please. Jiho gestured politely. Tell us why humanity was sealed away from the galaxy. Tell us what crime our ancestors committed that justified 3,000 years of isolation. Tell us why we were left to suffer alone while the rest of the galaxy moved forward without us. Thrin felt the rage beneath his calm words. She felt Do-Hyun's cold calculation. She felt Yuna's desperate hope for peaceful resolution. And she realized with growing horror that whatever answer she gave, it would not be enough. Humanity had spent 3 millennia locked away. They had grown stronger, harder, more focused. The galaxy had hoped isolation would make them safer. It had done the opposite. The truth is complicated, Thrin began carefully. We have time, Jiho replied. His eyes never left hers. We have had nothing but time for 3,000 years. Now we want answers. Thrin took a breath and began to explain. But even as she spoke, she was composing an urgent message to the council in her mind. The message was simple and terrifying. Whatever we feared about humanity 3,000 years ago, it is worse now. Much worse. The sealed vault on Council Station 9 had not been opened in 1,500 years. Archon Velik stood before the massive doors with Historian Liss beside him. The ancient Eldari existed as pure energy, her form glowing softly in the dim corridor. She was the only being alive who had witnessed the original sealing of Earth. She was the only one who remembered the truth. Are you certain you want to do this? Liss asked. Her voice echoed like wind through crystal. Some knowledge brings only pain. The humans already suspect, Velix replied. Captain Kang is not stupid. He knows we imprisoned them for a reason. If we do not tell him the truth, he will find it himself. Better that we control how the story is told. The vault doors opened slowly. Inside were thousands of data crystals, each one containing records from the time before the sealing. Velix picked up the one marked with red symbols. Warning symbols. Danger symbols. He inserted it into a reader and the holographic display came to life. Images of Earth 3,000 years ago appeared. Cities gleaming under blue skies, ships launching into space, humans greeting alien ambassadors with smiles and gifts. It all looked so peaceful, so hopeful. Velix fast-forwarded through decades of history. First contact, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, technology sharing, Everything the galaxy believed in. Then the problems began. Subtle at first. A human colony on a world with native species. Within 50 years, the natives were gone. Not killed, just gone. Integrated, absorbed. Their language disappeared. Their culture merged with human culture until nothing distinct remained. The colony kept growing, kept expanding, kept adapting. Watch this part carefully, Liz said. This is when the council began to worry. The hologram showed a council meeting from ancient times. Representatives from dozens of species arguing. A Kryn scientist presented data. Humans were reproducing faster than any other species. They could survive in environments that killed others. They learned alien languages in weeks when it took other species years. They mastered technologies in months that normally required decades. Most disturbing of all, they were friendly, non-threatening. They did not conquer. They simply existed alongside you until slowly, gradually, they became the majority. We welcomed them, a voice from the old recording said. We thought they were like us. We were wrong. Humans are not like other species. They adapt too well. They thrive too easily. They spread too quickly. At current rates, in 500 years, the galaxy will be 90% human. Not through war, not through force, simply through natural expansion. Velix paused the recording. He felt sick. The ancient council had faced an impossible choice. Allow humanity to spread naturally and watch as other species slowly disappeared. Or take action. Terrible action. Meanwhile, on the Prometheus, engineer Taeyang Kim made a discovery in the ship's database. Hidden deep in the archives were fragments of old Earth data. References to colonies, trade routes, cultural exchange programs. An entire galactic presence that simply stopped existing around 3,000 years ago. Every reference ended abruptly on the same date. Captain, Taeyang called out. You need to see this. Jiho reviewed the data with growing anger. His ancestors had been part of the galaxy. They had colonies on dozens of worlds. They had friends among alien species. Then someone erased it all. The colonies disappeared from records. The humans living there vanished. Earth itself was sealed away and isolated. Someone had methodically removed humanity from existence. How many? Jiho asked quietly. At least 30 colony worlds, Taeyang replied. Population estimates range from 50 million to 3 billion. All gone. Erased from history. Dr. Una Park sat at her station reading through old Earth legends and myths. She had begun to notice patterns. Stories about the skywall that trapped humanity. Tales of the forbidden stars that could not be reached. Myths about divine punishment for human pride. She realized these were not myths. They were memories. Distorted over time but rooted in truth. Someone had imprisoned Earth and then convinced humans it was their own fault. They lied to us, she whispered. For 3,000 years they let us think we were alone because we deserved it. They made us believe we were being punished. But we were just inconvenient. Ambassador Thryn returned to the council with her report. She stood before Archon Velix and delivered her assessment. The council chamber was silent as she spoke. The humans are different now, Thryn said. Whatever they were 3,000 years ago, isolation changed them. They are harder, more focused, more efficient. Their technology rivals our own despite being locked away. Their military discipline is perfect. They think faster than we do. They plan further ahead. And they are angry. Do they know why they were sealed? Velix asked. Not yet. But they are investigating. They found references to old colonies. It is only a matter of time before they discover what we did. When they learn the truth, I do not know how they will react. But I fear it will not be peaceful. Fleet Marshal Corvin stood and addressed the council. The massive Thraxian warrior had been listening carefully. His people understood conflict. They understood threats. And they understood that sometimes you had to act before the enemy did. We should strike now, Corvin said. Before they spread. Before they establish colonies. Before they become too strong to stop. We made this mistake once. We cannot afford to make it again. We are not murderers, another council member objected. We sealed Earth to avoid genocide. We cannot now commit the very act we sought to prevent. Then what do you suggest? Corvin demanded. We tell them the truth? That we imprisoned their entire species because they were too successful? That we erased billions of their people from existence? They will declare war. And this time we might not win. The council erupted in argument. Velix tried to maintain order, but it was chaos. Some species wanted immediate military action. Others demanded diplomacy. A few suggested re-establishing the barrier, though everyone knew that was impossible. The technology had barely worked the first time and had taken decades to build. Historian Liz watched the chaos with ancient eyes. She had seen this before. Fear driving rational beings to irrational actions. The council was terrified, and terrified beings made terrible choices. On the Prometheus, Captain Jiho made a decision. He opened a broadcast channel to the Galactic Council. His message was simple and direct. To the leaders of the Galactic Council, we have discovered evidence of human colonies throughout this region of space. All of them disappeared approximately 3,000 years ago. The same time Earth was sealed. We believe these events are connected. We demand a full explanation. You have 72 hours to respond. If we do not receive answers, we will begin our own investigation. We will visit these colony worlds. We will learn what happened to our people, and we will hold those responsible accountable. The message ended. Jiho turned to his crew. Yuna looked worried. Do-hyun looked satisfied. Taeyang looked uncertain. They all understood what this meant. They had just threatened the most powerful organization in the galaxy. Sir, they might attack us, Yuna said. They might, Jiho agreed. But we cannot live in fear. We need the truth. Whatever it costs, Commander Do-hyun pulled up tactical displays. He had been preparing for this moment his entire life. Every human had. Earth's isolation had not been wasted time. They had built ships, trained soldiers, developed weapons, created strategies. If the galaxy wanted war, humanity was ready. I am activating Protocol Exodus, Do-hyun announced. 12 colony ships are already in position in unexplored regions. If anything happens to us, they will establish new human settlements. The galaxy cannot stop us all. Yuna stared at him in shock. We have stealth colony ships already deployed? How long has this been planned? 500 years, Do-hyun replied calmly. Earth has been preparing for this moment since we first understood the barrier was artificial. We knew someday it would fall. We knew the galaxy might be hostile. We prepared accordingly. Ambassador Thrin received Captain Kang's message at the same time as the council. She immediately contacted Yuna on a private channel. The two had formed a tentative friendship during their brief time together. Thrin hoped that connection might prevent disaster. Dr. Park, please listen carefully. What I'm about to tell you is not authorized by the council. But you deserve to know the truth. Your people were sealed away because you were too successful. Not too violent. Not too aggressive. Too successful. You adapted too well to galactic life. You integrated too thoroughly with other species. You were making us disappear. Not through conquest, but through simple population growth and cultural exchange. Yuna listened in stunned silence as Thrin explained everything. The colonies that thrived too well. The hybrid populations that identified as human. The projection that within centuries, other species would effectively cease to exist as distinct civilizations. The impossible choice the ancient council faced. We were punished for being good at survival? Yuna asked, her voice hollow. Yes, Thrin replied. And now the galaxy must face what that punishment created. You did not just survive isolation. You thrived in it. You evolved. You became exactly what we feared, but focused and refined by 3,000 years of struggle. Whatever happens next, know that I am sorry. I was not alive when the decision was made, but I am sorry for what was done to your people. Yuna closed the channel. She sat at her as the 72-hour deadline passed without response from the Galactic Council. Captain Jiho stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and made the decision he hoped he would not have to make. They would go looking for answers themselves. The old database had provided coordinates for New Athens, once a thriving human colony world. It was the closest to their current position. Set course, Jiho ordered. Maximum speed. I want to know what happened there. The Prometheus jumped to faster-than-light travel. The journey took 3 days. During that time, the crew prepared for anything. They did not know what they would find. Ruins, survivors? Nothing at all. Every possibility was discussed and planned for. Dr. Yuna spent those days researching everything she could about New Athens. The colony had been established early in human expansion. 3 billion people at its peak. A center for human culture outside Earth. Art, music, literature, science. It was supposed to be humanity's second home. Then all records simply stopped. When they arrived, Yuna wished they had not come. New Athens was intact. Cities stood unchanged. Buildings reached toward the sky. Roads stretched between settlements. Everything looked normal from orbit. But the scanners told a different story. No life signs. No power signatures. No movement, nothing. The planet was a perfect monument to 3 billion people who simply vanished. "Sir, I am detecting something," Taeyang reported. "A structure near the main city. It is made of materials that do not match the colony architecture. Requesting permission to investigate." Jiho assembled a team. Himself, Yuna, Doyun, and a squad of security officers. They took a shuttle down to the surface. The air was breathable, the temperature comfortable. Birds sang in trees that humans had planted thousands of years ago. It was beautiful. It was also completely empty of human presence. The structure stood in the center of a plaza. 20 meters tall, made of black stone that seemed to absorb light. Engraved on its surface were words in Standard Galactic. Yuna translated them aloud. "By decree of the Galactic Council, this world is reclaimed. The human population has been relocated for the preservation of galactic diversity. This action is taken without malice but with necessity. May future generations understand what we had to do." At the bottom was a date. The date matched exactly when Earth was sealed. 3 billion people relocated. Yuna felt sick. Relocated was such a clean word. What did it really mean? Were they taken somewhere? Killed? Erased? The monument did not say. Commander Do-hyun stood perfectly still, staring at the monument. When he finally spoke, his voice was cold as ice. Relocated. They call genocide relocated. 3 billion people. Gone. And they put up a monument to justify it. This is what the galaxy thinks of us. This is what they did when we became inconvenient. Jiho placed a hand on Do-hyun's shoulder. He understood the rage. He felt it too. But they needed to stay focused. They needed evidence. They needed to understand the full scope of what happened. "Document everything," Jiho ordered. "Take images. Take samples. Record it all. The galaxy will answer for this." Back on the Prometheus, Jiho composed a new message. This time he attached images of New Athens, the empty cities, the monument, the proof of what the Galactic Council had done. He broadcast it not just to the Council but to the entire galaxy, every species, every government, every news network. Everyone would see what happened to humanity, to all civilizations in the galaxy. "This is Captain Jiho Kang of Earth. We were sealed away for 3,000 years. We did not know why. Now we know. We were too successful. We adapted too well. We made friends too easily, so the Galactic Council decided we had to be removed. They erased our colonies. They relocated billions of our people. They imprisoned the rest of us on Earth and let us believe we were alone. This is what they call justice. This is what they call preservation. We call it genocide. We call it a crime against sentient life, and we will not forget." The message spread across the galaxy like fire. Within hours, every major civilization had seen the images. Public opinion split immediately. Some species supported the Council's ancient decision. Others were horrified. Many were simply afraid of what humanity would do next. On Council Station 9, Archon Velix watched his authority crumble in real time. Half the Council members were calling for his resignation. The other half were demanding military action against Earth before humanity could retaliate. The careful balance that had maintained galactic peace for millennia was collapsing. Fleet Marshal Corvin did not wait for authorization. He deployed the Galactic Defense Force to the Sol system. Thousands of warships jumped into position around Earth. The blockade was absolute. No ship could enter. No ship could leave. Corvin sent a message to Earth's government. "This is Fleet Marshal Corvin of the Thraxian Empire speaking on behalf of the Galactic Defense Force. Earth is under protective quarantine. Captain Kang and his crew are ordered to return immediately for diplomatic discussions. Any attempt to expand beyond the Sol system will be met with force. This is not a negotiation. This is a security measure." Jiho received Corvin's message with a calm smile. Do-hyun had been right. The galaxy would respond with force. They always did when they were afraid. But humanity had prepared for this exact scenario. "Commander, show them what we have been working on," Jiho said. Do-hyun activated a program that had been running in the background since they left Earth. Across 36 uninhabited star systems, human installations powered up. The same barrier technology that had imprisoned Earth for 3,000 years now sealed empty systems completely. Nothing could enter. Nothing could leave. The demonstrations lasted exactly 10 seconds before the barriers dropped again. The message was clear. Earth had mastered the technology used to cage them. Now they could cage anyone, any world, any system, any fleet. Fleet Marshal Corvin watched the demonstrations with growing dread. His entire armada was vulnerable. If humans could seal the Sol system, they could trap his forces inside. The blockade that was meant to contain Earth suddenly looked like a potential tomb for thousands of his ships. Ambassador Thrin contacted Dr. Yuna again. The Vexori diplomat sounded desperate. "Please, you must convince your captain to negotiate. Corvin is frightened. Frightened leaders make terrible decisions. If he feels cornered, he will attack. This does not have to end in war." Yuna looked at her friend with tired eyes. Friend. Such a strange word for someone from the civilization that murdered billions of humans. But Thrin was genuine in her concern. She truly wanted peace. "What would you have us do?" Yuna asked. "Forget what happened? Pretend 3,000 years of imprisonment and the deaths of billions is acceptable? The galaxy destroyed us because we were too good at living alongside you. How do we negotiate with that?" "I do not know," Thrin admitted. "But I know that more violence will not fix what happened. It will only create new grievances. New reasons for hatred, new cycles of revenge. There has to be another way." Before Yuna could respond, alarm screamed through the Prometheus. A Thraxian destroyer had fired on a human colony ship. The small vessel was destroyed instantly. 1,200 colonists dead in seconds. It was not Corvin's order. A junior officer had panicked. But the damage was done. Commander Do-hyun's response was immediate and brutal. The human fleet dropped their stealth systems. Ships that Corvin did not even know existed suddenly appeared across the Sol system. They had been hiding in plain sight, disguised as asteroids and debris. The Thraxian fleet group that had fired on the colony ship was eliminated within minutes. 15 warships destroyed, 3,000 alien lives ended. The galaxy held its breath. First blood had been drawn. On both sides. The standoff had become a war. Fleet Marshal Corvin faced a choice. Escalate or retreat. His pride demanded escalation. His military training suggested retreat. He was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and trapped in a system that humans could seal at any moment. But before he could decide, something unexpected happened. Historian Liz broadcast a message across all channels. Her ancient voice cut through the chaos. "Stop. All of you. Stop this madness. I am Historian Liz of the Eldery. I witnessed the sealing of Earth 3,000 years ago. I was part of the council that made that decision. And I must tell you all something that was never recorded, something that has been kept secret for all this time. Every ship in the Sol system stopped moving. Every weapon powered down. Everyone listened. Because Liz was legend. She was truth. She did not lie. She did not manipulate. When she spoke, civilizations paid attention. We did not seal Earth because humanity was spreading too quickly. That was part of it, yes. But there was another reason. A deeper reason. One that terrified us so much that we could not even write it down. Humans have a unique ability, not just to adapt, not just to survive. Humans can merge with other species, genetically, culturally, psychologically. Within 3 generations of contact, human-alien hybrid populations form. And those hybrids think like humans, act like humans, identify as humans, but they carry alien DNA, alien traits, alien advantages. Liz paused. The weight of her words settled over everyone. We did not fear human conquest. We feared human integration. We feared waking up one day to find that our children identified as human. That our cult. The meeting took place on a neutral station between the human fleet and the Galactic Defense Force. Captain Jiho arrived with only Dr. Yuna as his companion. Fleet Marshal Corvin brought Ambassador Thrin. The 4 of them sat in a small conference room with windows showing both fleets waiting tensely outside. Corvin was massive even for his species. 2.5 meters tall, covered in striped fur, with eyes that had seen countless battles. He studied Jiho carefully before speaking. "You are smaller than I expected," Corvin said, "but I sense strength in you. The strength of a survivor." "All humans are survivors," Jiho replied. "We have had no choice but to be. Your people helped ensure that." Corvin nodded slowly. "I was not alive when Earth was sealed. My ancestors made that choice. But I understand their reasoning now. You frighten us, Captain. Not because you are violent. Because you are adaptable. My people survived an extinction event once. An invasive species nearly destroyed us. We learned to recognize the signs. Humanity has all of them. So your solution was to lock us away? Yuna asked. She kept her voice level, but anger burned beneath the surface. To let billions die? To let our planet suffer? Because we might become successful? Thryn spoke gently. Dr. Park, I know it seems cruel. But consider the alternative. If humans had continued spreading naturally, within 1,000 years most intelligent species would have significant human hybrid populations. Within 2,000 years pure alien bloodlines would be rare. Within 3,000 years the galaxy would be mostly human in genetics and culture, not through war. Through simple reproduction and cultural exchange. Is that not also a form of extinction? Jiho leaned back in his chair. The question was fair even if he hated it. You speak of extinction as if our presence causes it, Jiho said. But integration is not death. The hybrid populations you describe would carry forward both human and alien traits, both cultures, both histories. That is not erasure. That is evolution. Evolution that always favors human traits, Corvin countered. We studied the old hybrid populations before the sealing. They learned human languages first. They adopted human customs. They identified as human. Whatever alien heritage they had became background. Decoration, not identity. My people would effectively cease to exist even if our DNA continued. The room fell silent. Both sides recognized the core problem. There was no easy answer. Human nature was to spread, adapt, and integrate. Alien nature was to preserve distinct identity and culture. Both were valid. Both were incompatible. What would you have us do? Jiho asked quietly. Return to Earth? Seal ourselves away again? Accept that we must remain isolated forever because our existence threatens you? No, Thryn said quickly. That would be unjust. You have suffered enough. But unlimited expansion is also unacceptable. There must be a middle path, restrictions, agreements, compromises from both sides. Yuna pulled out a data pad. She had been working on something during the journey to this meeting. A framework for coexistence. She called it the Synthesis Protocol. What if we formalize the limitations? Yuna suggested. Earth receives 20 colony worlds, full council representation, access to galactic technology. In exchange, humans accept population growth restrictions, mandatory cultural preservation programs for hybrid populations, external oversight of human expansion. For 500 years, then we reassess. Corvin studied the proposal. It was more generous than he expected. 20 worlds was significant. But the restrictions were also meaningful. Population controls would limit human expansion. Cultural preservation would maintain alien identities in hybrid populations. 500 years was enough time to see if coexistence was possible. This could work, Corvin admitted. But implementation would be difficult. Many species will not trust humans to follow these restrictions, and many humans will resist being limited after so long imprisoned. That is why we need guarantees, Jiho said. Humans will accept restrictions if we receive what we are owed. Colony worlds to replace those taken from us. Representation so we have a voice in galactic affairs. Knowledge to rebuild what was lost. And most importantly, acknowledgement. The galaxy must admit what was done to us was wrong. Thryn activated her communicator and contacted Archon Velix. The council leader appeared on screen looking exhausted. The political chaos had aged him years and days. Archon, we have a proposal. A possible path to peace. But it requires the council to make difficult admissions and offer substantial concessions. Velix listened as Thryn explained the synthesis protocol. His crystalline features were difficult to read, but Yuna sensed his relief. He had been preparing for war. This offered an alternative. I will present this to the council, Velix said, but I must warn you, not everyone will agree. Some species still fear humanity too much. Others will see any compromise as weakness. Then they can explain their position to their citizens, Jiho said firmly. We are broadcasting this entire negotiation to both our fleets and to public channels. The galaxy will see that humans offered compromise. If the council rejects peace, history will judge them harshly. It was a calculated risk. Public pressure could force the council to accept. But it could also harden positions on both sides. Velix recognized the tactic and nodded with something like respect. Very well. I will call for a vote within 48 hours. In the meantime, I ask that both fleets maintain their current positions. No hostilities, no movements. Just waiting. The transmission ended. The four beings in the conference room looked at each other with cautious hope. They had created a framework. Whether it would hold was another question entirely. Corvin stood and extended a hand to Jiho. It was a human gesture. The fact that Corvin knew it and used it spoke volumes. "Whatever happens, Captain, know that I respect you. You could have used your barrier technology to trap my fleet. You could have destroyed us before we knew what was happening. You chose negotiation instead. That shows character." Jiho shook the massive hand. "We chose negotiation because Dr. Park convinced me to try. But make no mistake, Marshal. If the Council rejects this offer, humanity will not return to Earth quietly. We will spread across the stars with or without permission. 3,000 years of isolation taught us to be patient, but it also taught us to be relentless." "I understand completely," Corvin replied, "which is why I will do everything in my power to convince the Council to accept, because the alternative benefits no one." Back on the Prometheus, Commander Do-hyun watched the negotiation broadcast with deep skepticism. He pulled together his senior officers for a private meeting. "The captain is offering compromise," Do-hyun said, "but we should prepare for the Council to reject it. I want all ships ready for immediate action. If they choose war, we will give them war they cannot imagine. Are we clear?" The officers nodded. They understood. Do-hyun was not being pessimistic. He was being realistic. The galaxy had imprisoned humanity once. They might choose to try again. And this time, humans would fight back with everything they had developed over 3 millennia of forced isolation. Engineer Tai Yang worked frantically in his lab. He had been analyzing the barrier technology, trying to understand its full capabilities. What he discovered both excited and terrified him. The barriers could do more than seal systems. They could be weaponized. A barrier activated inside a ship would tear it apart. A barrier activated around a planet would compress it. The technology was devastatingly powerful. He debated telling the captain. If Jiho knew what the technology could really do, would he use it as leverage? Would he threaten the galaxy with weapons that could destroy worlds? Taeyang decided to keep the knowledge to himself, for now. Some capabilities were better left unknown until absolutely necessary. The 48 hours passed slowly. Across the galaxy, beings watched and waited. Would the Council accept compromise? Would humanity accept limitations? Would peace be possible, or would the first interstellar war in galactic history begin? On Council Station 9, the vote took place. 83 species represented, each one making a choice that would shape the future. Archon Velix watched the votes come in with growing relief. 67 approved the synthesis protocol. 16 abstained. None opposed directly. It was not unanimous. It was not overwhelming, but it was enough. Velix broadcast the results immediately. By majority decision, the Galactic Council accepts the synthesis protocol. Humanity will receive 20 colony worlds, full council representation, and unrestricted access to galactic knowledge. In exchange, humans accept population growth limitations, cultural preservation requirements, and external oversight for a period of 500 years. This agreement is subject to review and adjustment based on implementation success. Let this day mark the beginning of a new relationship between humanity and the galaxy. On the Prometheus, the crew erupted in celebration. They had done it. They had secured freedom without war. They had won recognition without violence. It was not everything they wanted. The restrictions stung. The oversight felt invasive, but it was infinitely better than the alternative. Captain Jiho felt the weight lift from his shoulders. He had succeeded in his mission. He had broken the barrier. He had discovered the truth. He had confronted the galaxy, and he had secured a future for his people. It was not perfect, but it was possible. 3 months after the synthesis protocol was signed, Captain Jiho stood on the surface of New Harmony, one of the 20 worlds granted to humanity. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans, green forests, air that tasted clean and fresh. It reminded him of Earth before the resource wars, before the desperation, before the barrier. Behind him, construction crews worked to establish the first permanent settlement. Humans and aliens working side by side. It was strange to watch. For 3,000 years, humanity had been alone. Now they shared workspace with Vexori engineers, Kryn architects, and Thraxian security specialists. The integration was happening naturally despite the restrictions designed to prevent it. Dr. Yuna approached from the construction site. She had volunteered to oversee the cultural preservation programs on New Harmony. Her job was to ensure that human and alien identities remained distinct, even as they lived together. It was proving more difficult than she expected. "Captain, we have a situation," Una said. "Nothing dangerous, but complicated. 3 human workers have formed relationships with Vexori crew members. They are requesting permission to marry and start families. Under the synthesis protocol, hybrid children require special approval and mandatory cultural education. But the couples are asking if those restrictions are really necessary." Jiho sighed. This was the heart of the problem. You could write all the protocols you wanted. You could establish all the oversight structures. But you could not legislate against people falling in love. You could not prevent friendships. You could not stop natural integration. "What do you think we should do?" Jiho asked. "Honestly, I think we approve the marriages. We provide the cultural education as required. And we accept that integration is going to happen regardless of what rules we create. The question is whether we manage it thoughtfully or try to prevent it and fail." Jiho nodded. Una was right. The synthesis protocol was not a solution. It was a framework for managing an inevitable process. Humans and aliens would integrate. The only question was how on Earth the vote was taking place. The synthesis protocol had been debated for months. Some humans saw it as necessary compromise. Others saw it as accepting chains after finally breaking free. The vote was close, but ultimately Earth's government ratified the agreement. 52% in favor, 48% opposed. Humanity was divided. Commander Do-hyun watched the vote results with grim satisfaction. Nearly half of humanity rejected the restrictions. That was enough. He had quietly gathered support for his alternative. A generation ship. No oversight, no limits. True freedom. 15,000 humans had volunteered. They would leave Earth within the year, heading beyond council space to establish colonies on their own terms. Do-hyun met with Jiho one last time before his departure. The 2 men sat in a quiet room on Earth, sharing a drink and reflecting on everything that had happened. "You think I am making a mistake," Do-hyun said. "I think you are choosing a harder path," Jiho replied. "Life without the support of galactic civilization will be difficult, dangerous. You might not survive." "Survival is what humans do best," Do-hyun said. "You secured peace. I respect that. But I cannot accept restrictions after what we endured. I need to know humanity can exist without permission, without oversight, without fear of being imprisoned again if we become inconvenient." Jiho understood. Part of him envied Do-hyun's choice, the freedom to build without compromise. But Jiho had made his decision. He would work within the synthesis protocol. He would prove that humans and aliens could coexist. He would show the galaxy that integration did not mean extinction. "Be safe out there," Jiho said. "And if you find something better than what we built here, send word. Maybe we can learn from each other." "Maybe," Do-hyun agreed. "Or maybe in 500 years when the restrictions expire, humanity will have 2 examples to compare. Your path and mine. Either way, humans win." They shook hands. Then Do-hyun departed for the generation ship that would carry him and 15,000 others beyond known space. Jiho watched the ship launch with mixed emotions. Hope, fear, pride, uncertainty. The future was unwritten. That was both terrifying and exhilarating. On Council Station 9, Archon Velix resigned from his position. The stress of recent events had aged him beyond his years. His final speech to the Council was brief but meaningful. "We thought we were protecting the galaxy when we sealed Earth. We thought we were making a hard but necessary choice. We were wrong. Not because humanity proved harmless, but because isolation created exactly the threat we feared. 3,000 years of suffering made them harder, more determined, more capable. We created our own nightmare through fear. Let that be a lesson to future councils. Sometimes the greatest threats come not from the dangerous, but from how we respond to danger." Velix stepped down. His replacement was a younger leader, one who had not lived through the sealing, one who saw humans as partners rather than threats. It was a symbolic change, but an important one. Ambassador Thrin was appointed as the chief liaison between humanity and the Council. She worked closely with Dr. Yuna to implement the cultural preservation programs. The 2 had become genuine friends, not just diplomatic partners. Actual friends who shared meals and conversations and hopes for the future. One evening they sat together watching the sunset on New Harmony. The sky turned brilliant shades of orange and purple. In the distance they could hear human children playing with Vexori children. The sounds were indistinguishable. "Do you think this will work?" Una asked. Thryn was silent for a moment. Her telepathic sense reached out across the settlement. She felt humans and aliens living together, working together, building together. There was friction. There were disagreements. But there was also cooperation, friendship, hope. "I think it has to work," Thryn replied, "because the alternative is unthinkable. We tried isolation. It failed. We tried barriers. They fell. The only option left is coexistence, and that means both sides changing, both sides adapting, both sides accepting that the galaxy will be different than it was." "Different is not always bad," Una said. "No," Thryn agreed. "Different is not always bad. Sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes it is even beautiful." Fleet Marshal Corvin visited New Harmony several times during the first year. His role had changed from military commander to security advisor. He helped train joint defense forces of humans and aliens. The Thoraxian warrior found unexpected satisfaction in the work. Teaching others. Building cooperation rather than preparing for war. During one visit, he sparred with a human soldier. The match was intense but friendly. When it ended, Corvin helped his opponent stand and offered praise. "You fight well," Corvin said. "Different from my people, but effective. Perhaps we can learn from each other." The human soldier grinned. "That is what Dr. Park keeps saying. Learn from each other. Adapt together. Build something better than what either species could do alone." Corvin nodded. "She is wise. I did not believe it at first, but I am beginning to see the truth in her words. Humans are not the threat I thought. They are simply different, and difference does not have to mean danger." Engineer Taiyang remained on Earth, working with galactic scientists to improve the barrier technology. But he changed its purpose. Instead of imprisonment, the barriers would now serve as emergency quarantine systems. Protection against cosmic threats, containment for dangerous experiments, tools for safety rather than weapons. He never revealed the full capabilities he had discovered. The weaponization potential, the ability to compress matter, the devastating power hidden within the technology. Some knowledge was better kept secret. Some weapons were better left unbuilt. At least for now. Years passed. Then decades. The synthesis protocol held, not perfectly. There were violations, disputes, moments of tension, but the framework remained intact. Humans spread to their 20 worlds. They joined the council. They participated in galactic civilization. They adapted, as they always had, but they also changed the galaxy. New foods, new music, new ideas, new ways of thinking. Slowly, gradually, the galaxy became more human, not through conquest, through simple existence, through being part of the community. And the galaxy changed humanity, alien philosophy, alien technology, alien perspectives. Humans learned, grew, evolved. They became more than they had been, not less human, but more connected, more understanding, more complete. On the 50th anniversary of the synthesis protocol, Captain Jiho gave a speech. He was older now, gray hair, lines on his face, but his eyes still held the determination that had carried him through first contact. 50 years ago, Earth broke free from 3,000 years of isolation. We emerged angry, desperate, ready for war. The galaxy met us with fear and weapons, but somehow we found peace. Not perfect peace, not easy peace, but real peace built on honest compromise. We agreed to restrictions we hated. They agreed to give us opportunities they feared. Both sides made sacrifices. Both sides took risks. And it worked, not because the restrictions prevented integration, but because they gave everyone time to adjust, time to learn, time to trust. We still do not know if this will last 500 years, but we know it lasted 50. And that is enough for today. The crowd applauded. Humans and aliens together. Their children played at the edge of the gathering. Hybrid children who spoke multiple languages.